Okay, so it seems like recently there's been a little bit of an update on the whole OffKai situation, which people have been getting pretty angry about, right? And rightfully so, because many people have been noticing one certain booth, which we've talked about a little bit beforehand, but now that OffKai is actually here, people have seen the booth and kind of what it's promoting, and it's made things a whole lot worse. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, we're obviously talking about the Fansly booth, which is over at OffKai. And they've got this little thing here. Now, to be fair, obviously, they've managed to tone it down quite a bit in terms of the actual design of it and everything like that. But this is in the main hall, right? This is in the exhibitor hall, whatever you want to call it, right? So anybody can see it, and there is a separate place for people who do like 18 plus stuff and whatever. There is actually a separate place at OffKai for this, but for some reason Fansly is not in that space, and instead they're at the exhibitor hall, which obviously lots of people have been questioning, as this is an event that does allow kids to roam around without an adult there, right? They literally say in their thing that 13-year-olds and up are allowed to walk around the event without an adult, which again is pretty crazy, because obviously they can come across the booth like this one, right? And as I said, they've, to be fair to them, they have toned down the actual kind of design of it. It's not like it's just plastered with like blank, but it is one of those things where a lot of people were wondering, A, what was the point, anyways, and B, they're a little bit more worried about this one thing up here, which is a QR code, which they have around the kind of booth. You can see it's there as well. It says find your Oshi. Now, essentially the page leads you to a page full of VTubers, which I cannot show in this YouTube video because it will get taken down. But that kind of goes to show you how, kind of, what do you call it, sensitive the images are. And obviously they are not allowed to be shown on YouTube, so you can imagine what they are, right? And essentially it shows off a bunch of different VTubers content, right? On Fansly. For example, people like Cottontail, right? Cottontail, very, very big and very, very well known for a lot of content on that site and whatever, as well as people like Vexoria, and a bunch of other VTubers, right, that upload. But essentially it's a bunch of, certain videos on there that can be accessed straight away without logging in or confirming your age, which I think is a little bit odd, right? And lots of people are very concerned by this because, as I said, this is an event that is, kids are allowed to roam around here. Obviously, they all have phones, right? So what's stopping them from obviously looking at the QR code, obviously putting it into their phone and looking at all of this content, which has just been given to them by Fansly at this booth at OffKai, right? Because again, it's one of those things where I think, what is exactly the point of a booth like this anyways? Because if they were to go into that, separate section where all of the other places similar to Fansly should be going, they could have done a whole lot more with the design and everything. They don't have to like tone it down, and they could, use the QR code and all this kind of stuff, because that is actually checked at before you go into that area, right? You are checked that you are over the age of 18 before you go into that area by someone. And yeah, so like if they wanted to do anything like that, that would have been totally fine. Like nobody's stopping them from doing that. Nobody like hates the company or the VTubers or anything like that personally, right? Because of course, obviously like Cottontail and that, as I said, they do what they do, right? But people have a problem with this being in the exhibitor hall, which obviously, yeah, can be exposed to a bunch of children, which is more on OffKai for allowing them to be in this kind of area, right? Who says, so no protection while kids can go here and see this, despicable, zero safeguards for minors, links plastered all over it. Did you even listen or take any concerns people raised seriously? So I'm pretty sure San Jose PD has been notified. This falls under contributing to the delinquency of a minor. There's a reason why liquor stores that have blank bags have to keep them covered up. Saying minors are allowed at the convention. You're promoting blank and ruining your life by blanking yourself out for money to children, which again, obviously they're kind of going, more so at the people who use the site. And as I said, I've got no problem with people who use the site. If you want to make that content, that's totally fine, right? I know a lot of people are very, adamant against it and everything like that. They hate people that make content like this. I'm not under that, kind of umbrella or anything. I think it's fine if you want to make that content, you can make that content, right? But I think it is one of those things where if this website is going to be promoted, it probably should be promoted in an area that isn't available to kids, right? And like that's just one of those things, right? Now, of course, there's also someone from Proctor who got an early look before this was even posted of them setting it up and everything, saying this video was sent to me to confirm exactly what was predicted. This booth is in the main con area, fully accessible to minors. The link leads directly to uncensored blank. It confirms beyond a shadow of a doubt OffKai is knowingly exposing minors to blank, which again, yeah, that's just crazy, right? Now, again, people saying, is that a Comic-Con or Anime Concert? Is OffKai VTuber convention? Saying, so words are blank. Will there be actual images of blank as defined by the word? Does the site even have age verification? If words are now blank, then I consider the word VTuber as blank. The link, by the way, leads to a verification page and not directly the site. I said, sorry, here in this corner of the internet, we do believe in facts, believe in lying in our eyes. So yeah, obviously, some people questioning it. Now, they say it does lead you to a verification page, but some people also say while the content is hidden behind a login of other videos, there are people talking about stuff, and yeah, so essentially the actual like, you know, nudity or whatever you want to call it is like hidden behind like a login screen, right? You can't see that, but there is definitely some very, very suggestive content, and you know, obviously it's fansly, so of course it's going to be, but there are some very, yeah, people like talking about it, people even, you know, showing certain things off but clothed, right? So that isn't also blocked. So they're saying that these are viewable without having to log in, right? And there's been videos of people going through the website. You can go on Twitter and look this up if you really want to. There's videos of people going through the website and like clicking at what people can actually see. And people saying, I'm fine with Fansly as a platform, but let's not bullshit ourselves. Everything, the vast majority, is blank in nature and shouldn't be advertised in a place that's accessible to minors. Same principle as something like cigarettes. So it's almost like everyone knew that this would be the case. Absolutely disgusting. Anyone at OffKai that was part of this decision deserves criminal charges. Like you said, a reminder, one of the main people pushing stuff, which again, I don't know why they're going after, you know, Proctor over this, because again, he's also known to go around UK cons handing out business cards to strangers, which that just has nothing to do with this, right? I mean, obviously Bill is stupid, so I guess that's probably why. But again, you know, so this is awful. We need to remove Fansly and OnlyFans. Again, I'm not under that bridge. I don't think, you know, the actual platform needs to be removed or anything like that. But it's just more so this could have been handled better, right? As we know, there is a whole area dedicated to sites like this and to, you know, similar content and stuff like this, which they can go to, right? And they can be checked. Everything can be checked fully. But for some reason, they decided to do it in the main hall where everybody can see it, including children, which is the problem that people have mostly, right? People would defend putting a dedicated predominantly to blank content in an area where minors were allowed, then act surprised when politicians try to push digital ID. And then some more people saying, so heard you effed up, lol, we had a room of mysteries to get in and you had no clue what was in it. This avoids such, lol. And oh, what I would do for a free swag bag. I mean, some people obviously don't really care. Say you're weaseling your 18 plus content out of 18 plus spaces is concerning, but it's more concerning that OffKai signed off on this. How much did you pay for the privilege of peddling blank to minors? So yeah, obviously lots of people believe like, you know, oh, this was like a paid thing or whatever. Like maybe they paid a certain amount of money that just allowed them to get into the main hall, and you kind of like give up their, I guess, like morals or whatever, right? Which again, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what some people have been accusing Fansly of and saying like, how much have you paid them for this and things like that, which would be crazy if that is the case. But again, I don't know. That's the thing. But yeah, obviously people are mad, people are unhappy, and rightfully so, because I do think it is very, very odd that they've decided to put this in the main hall. But yeah, we'll have to see if there's anything else that does come from this. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kazo, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.